Good morning, children. So let's start with our next lesson, that is lesson number 20, The Nightingale and the Glowworm. This is a poem and it's written by William Cowper. So let's read something about William Cowper first before starting the poem. Really a very meaningful poem, and see the picture also is given over there, very nice. Okay, so let's see. William Cowper was born in England, one of the most popular English poets of his time. Cowper changed the direction of 18th century nature poetry by writing about everyday life and scenes of the English countryside. Samuel Taylor Coleridge called him the best poet of his time, and William Wordsworth particularly admired his poem Yardley Oak. Cowper is also considered one of the best letter writers in English, and some of his hymns, such as God Moves in a Mysterious Way, are revered till date. So really this is very interesting poem written by William Cowper. So let's start reciting. But before it, let me tell you the message behind this poem. The message in the poem is that all creatures are equal, all have unique talents and all have unique talents and contributions that makes the world an even more beautiful place. God has created all the creatures equal, and God has given unique talents to each one of us. This only makes the world beautiful place. Really, this poem, when you're going to recite, you'll find out the deep meaning behind that. We each have our part to play on earth. We make our own contributions to how life functions on the grand scale. By using a nightingale and a glowworm, William Cowper underlines the importance of maintaining this balance. So the poem begins here with a nightingale, that how valuable nightingale is in his own way. He sings all day long and to cheer up the villagers. So let's recite first full, and then we are going to take the meaning of each line. A nightingale that all day long had cheered the village with his song, nor yet at eve his note suspended, nor yet when eventide was ended, began to feel as well he might the keen demands of appetite, when, looking eagerly around, he spied far off upon the ground a something shining in the dark, and knew the glowworm by his spark. So stooping down from hawthorn top, he thought to put him in his crop. The worm, aware of his intent, harangued him thus right eloquent. Did you admire my lamp? Quoth he, as much as I your ministressly. You would abhor to do me wrong, as much as I to spoil your song. For it was the self same power divine taught you to sing and me to shine, that you with music, I with light, might beautify and cheer the night. The songster heard his short oration, and wobbling out his approbation, released him, as my story tells, and found a supper somewhere else. So beautifully, he depicted this thing. So let's take line by line the meaning. A nightingale that all day long had cheered the village with his song. The poem begins by establishing how valuable the nightingale is in his own way. He sings all day long to cheer up the villagers, and when it is like, nor yet at eve his note suspended, when it is evening, nor yet when eventide was ended. When it is evening, he stops singing and begins to, the nightingale, when it is evening, he stops singing and begins to feel, hunger pangs, that appetite. He starts feeling that. He stops singing in the evening. So at this time, at this point, let's see, began to feel as well as he might the keen demands of appetite. He starts feeling demand of begins to feel hunger pangs, the appetite, he wants to eat something, he starts feeling hungry. When looking eagerly around, he starts looking around for the prey to, satisfy his hunger. He spied far off, he starts looking, far away also, upon the ground, a something shining in the dark, and knew the glowworm by his bark. He start finding out, he spots a glowworm, shining in the dark far below him, and so flies down from, so stooping down means flying down from hawthorn top to eat it. Aware of the nightingale intentions, now let's see, he thought to put him in his crop. So let's take once again, the keen demands of appetite due to the hunger pangs. When looking, he start feeling hunger pangs, appetite. He spied far off, he starts searching upon the ground, a something shining in the dark. Then he spots a glowworm there, in the dark far below him, and knew the glowworm by his spark, and so flies down, here, so stooping down, flies down from hawthorn top, so flies down from hawthorn top to eat it, So stooping down from hawthorn top, he thought to put him in his crop means stomach. The worm, aware of his intent, now here, aware of the nightingale intention, her angered him, questioned him, thus right eloquent, he start asking, but eloquent and meaningful speech he starts. The glowworm looks him, and with a short but eloquent and meaningful speech, he's trying to stop him over there. The worm, aware of his intent, aware of nightingale intention, he started asking question in his own way, by giving the meaningful speech. So let's see, did you admire my lamp? The glowworm here argues that if the nightingale, here, did you admire my lamp? He argues, the glowworm argues that if the nightingale admired, liked his lamp, the light, as much as he enjoyed his singing. Did you admire my lamp? He argues that if nightingale admired his light the same way, the way he admired his singing. So this way, and then you would abhor to do me wrong, and then the bird would not think of eating him this way, like if you really admired my light as the way I liked your singing, you would dislike, hate to do me wrong, to eat me or to do something wrong to me, as much as I to spoil your song, as I didn't even thought once also of disturbing you while you were singing. For it was the self same part divine, because it was God's plan to give the two of them their respective purposes. The darkness of night would be brightened by the light of glowworm and the nightingale's music. So here, for it was the self same divine power. So here he wanted to tell this, God has created all the creatures equal. It was the self same part divine, the same God created you, taught you to sing and me to shine. That you with music, you are going to make the night more beautiful with the music, I with light, might beautify and cheer the night. This way we both are contributing to make the night more beautiful. The songster, the bird over there, heard his short oration, the speech, and wobbling out his approbation, singing out his praise and admiration. Really, he was, he liked the speech, the way, the logic behind, the glowworm kept the logic behind all these things. Although, it can be said that the nightingale only wanted to feed himself, the glowworm on the other side really put up the things very nicely. Released him, so this way he released him, and he told that I am going to find my supper somewhere else. He released him, as my story tells, and found a supper somewhere else. And he told, I'm not going to eat you, and I'm going to find, supper means dinner, somewhere else. He was so admired by his short speech. So this was, this poem, The Nightingale and the Glowworm. Really, really very, very, very touching. At eve his notes suspended, he stopped singing when it was singing. When eventide was ended, when the evening ended and it became dark. Hawthorn, a kind of shrub, crop, stomach, harangued him, questioned him, quoth, said, ministerously, singing, abhor, hate, dislike, wobbling out his approbation, singing out his praise and admiration. So here the bird was singing the praise, for this small worm, and he really told him that and released him, and he told him, I'll find my supper somewhere else. So this was really, really very nice poem. So let's see now the comprehension given over there. Take the correct inferences. There could be more than one correct option. Okay. For it was the self-same part divine taught you to sing and me to shine, that you with music, I with light, might beautify and cheer the night. So what I found these two correct ones, B and C. 1 minute, let me make it clear. Sometimes, my phone. Yes, here. B part, the glowworm was telling the nightingale that both added beauty to the night. And C part, the glowworm believed that both were equal, as they have been created by the same divine power, same God. The songster heard his short oration and, wobbling out his approbation, released him, as my story tells, and found a supper somewhere else. So here A and B part I found correct. The nightingale admired the glowworm for his point of view and did not eat him but let him go. The nightingale sang his approval to the glowworm. So the question answers we are going to do in the notebook, even the word study in the notebook. Thank you. God bless you, and recite the poem by your own. Thank you.